Hi everyone, this is Chuck Caputa with the CitySquare Advocacy team. This past Thursday, on the last day of its summer session, the U.S. Supreme Court issued a ruling that puts the appearance of a citizenship question on the 2019 census in doubt. In the 5-4 ruling, Chief Justice John Roberts wrote that the administration stated reason of including the question to enforce the Voting Rights Act is not supported by the evidence, but the question remains unsettled. The Supreme Court found that the justification for the question did not align with the evidence presented by the administration. However, it ruled Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross may still add a citizenship question if, between now and when the census is taken, the administration can successfully realign its justification with the evidence. This comes at a time when numerous additional cases against adding the question are slowly moving through the lower courts. As CitySquare Vice President of External Affairs, the Reverend Gerald Britt explained recently, whether the citizenship question is ultimately added is not what matters. What matters is raising your hand to be counted. Now, here's Reverend Britt for more.
Representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states which may be included within this union according to their respective numbers, which shall be determined by adding to the whole number of free persons, including those bound to service for a term of years, and excluding Indians not taxed 3/5 of all other persons. The actual enumeration shall be made within 3 years after the first meeting of the Congress of the United States, and within every subsequent term of 10 years, in such manner as they shall by law direct. This is a clause from Article 1, Section 2 of the United States Constitution. It's the section of the Constitution that deals with the United States Census. Hard to understand? Maybe a little. But the upshot of it is this. Every 10 years, the government is required to count the number of people who live within its borders. Why? Good question. Because the number of people in the United States determines how many representatives each state is entitled to in Congress. But it has come to determine so much more. First of all, of course, as previously stated, we get to know the number of people who live in the United States. But not just the number. We find out the demographics. Who is black, white, Hispanic, Asian, or the self-identified mix of any combination of race and or ethnicities and religions, or sexual orientation. That's important for any number of reasons, political, cultural, and commercial. The census is used to allocate seats in the House of Representatives equitably. Geographic shifts in population can increase or decrease House members for a state. The census is also used to reapportion congressional, state legislative, school, city council districts, and voting precincts. Grant funding for various programs is determined by a census. The Census Bureau estimates that more than $675 billion in federal funding is allocated through grants using the census. The data from the census builds the sampling frames for surveys of households over the subsequent decade. Reliable census counts minimize statistical bias in policy research and evaluation used to understand government effectiveness in policies and under what condition. How that census count is achieved has been controversial for decades. Should it be an actual count or an estimate? Here's what matters. However the count is achieved, it must take place and you must be counted if our country is to progress. The most recent controversy is the possible insertion of the question, are you a citizen? This question is proposed by a number of Trump administration officials, some of whom are no longer in office. It is expected that sometime soon, before 2020, the Supreme Court will weigh in on the constitutionality of that question. But here's the upshot. The question whether or not it appears on the census is nothing to be feared. Federal law provides immunity for persons who give answers to census questions. Information furnished cannot be used to the detriment of the person to whom such information relates. Census reports may not be admitted as evidence or used in any action or proceeding without consent. And Texas stands to gain so much from the upcoming decennial head count. as many as 3 seats in the U.S. House of Representatives, and an inaccurate count could cost Texas nearly $300 million a year in federal aid. So in other words, whether citizens or not, in order for Texas to count, we must all stand up and be counted.